Ever since their rework, beam weapons have been exceptionally strong, and the Ignis Wraith is no exception to that rule. Hey guys, hello and welcome back. As always, my name is Leyzar, and today we're gonna be diving deeper in one of the best AoE weapons in Warframe. It comes to us at only a mastery lockout of 9, so I will be keeping my new player-friendly approach. In case you're a veteran and already know most of the basics, then please, bear with me. And with that out of the way, let's jump into the Ignis Wraith. First of all, let's check out how the weapon handles without any mods equipped, because it is important to understand how the weapon functions. First of all, it channels a frontal beam. The range is 27 meters, the thickness of the beam is 0.15, and at the end of the beam or at the point of contact, it will generate a 3 meter radius area of effect. That being said, please keep in mind that it only consumes 0.5 ammo per damage tick, which is absolutely amazing. And of course, the range can be increased with mods such as Sinister Reach, and the area of effect can be increased with Firestorm. However, more on that later. For now, let's check out what we're dealing with in the weapon stats. Mod capacity is 60 out of 60, and if your Ignis Wraith has only 30 out of 30, then jump into actions and plug in an Orokin Catalyst. The Orokin Catalyst can be obtained from alerts, invasions, or if you have access to the daily sortie, that's also a possible reward. Lastly, you can pay 20 plat for it. My weapon has been formatted a total of 7 times because I need to run a whole bunch of tests, but for the weapon builds I'm recommending you guys without a Riven, 5 Forma should be more than enough. Accuracy, because this is a beam weapon, is 100, and minus accuracy mods, while will affect this, well, paper stat, let's say we slap on heavy caliber for example, will bring it down to 25, but it doesn't really have any noticeable effect on the trajectory of the beam, so by all means heavy caliber will be mandatory. Critical chance is the one and only weak point of the Ignis Wraith, low at 17%, but the multiplier is quite awesome at 2.5, fire rate 8.0, magazine 200, absolutely bloody amazing, and you get extra ammo 800. Reload is 1.7, lightning quick, and these two together make for some fantastic ammo efficiency. Riven disposition only 2 out of 5, which is kind of noteworthy because this is, like I said, a very potent AoE weapon and a lot of players use it. Status chance is sky high at 29%, and the default damage on the Ignis Wraith is 35. Now, it is important to understand how the damage ramps up on channeled beam weapons, on mostly all of them. You don't start off at 100% damage as soon as you press the trigger. It starts off at 20% and ramps up to 100% over the course of 0.6 seconds. After you stop firing, it will remain 100% for 0.8 seconds, after which it will slowly decay back to the initial 20% over the course of 2 seconds. This is how the Gamma Core functions, how the Amprex functions, and how the Ignis or Ignis Wraith functions. Okay, that's out of the way, let's start slapping on some mods. Of course, Serration is gonna be mandatory, 165% extra damage, and so is heavy caliber for the reasons mentioned earlier. The minus accuracy doesn't affect the Ignis Wraith, so by all means, slap it on. If you don't know where to get heavy caliber, you get this one from Vault Runs, and check the link in the cards now for an easy way mode to farm them. Okay, we got our damage, what's next? Multishot, right? Well, what does Multishot do on beam weapons anyway? Let me unequip these two. So we got a base damage of 35, right? Oh, come on, de-equip, goddamn you. What Multishot does on beam weapons is nothing but increase damage by the set amount. So for beam weapons such as the Ignis Wraith, you can cross out Multishot on this mod and just replace it with damage. If you were to amplify 35 by and add another 90% to it, which is the Multishot value on this mod, you will get 66.5. So it is important to fully understand what Multishot does. As you saw, the status chance did not change. So keep that one in mind. Serration, heavy caliber, now we got multi-shot. What about crit chance, crit damage? Is it worth it with a 17% crit chance? Yes, it's still worth it, especially if you guys manage to get a crit chance Riven. Oh, that would be definitely awesome. So let's go into crit. Point strike, 150% extra crit chance, bringing our crit chance to 42.5, which by all intents and purposes is respectable. Nothing out of the ordinary, but still good. High crit chance is nothing without crit multiplier, so Vital Sense in it goes. Multiplier goes to 5.5, and that is definitely respectable, especially the multiplier is quite good. Next, we should be amplifying our damage with elemental damage. Elemental damage should always be slapped on depending on where you're going and who exactly are you shooting. Today we're going to be taking the example of the Grineer. These are the toughest targets in Warframe, but when slapping on damage to a weapon that already has an elemental, you gotta take that elemental into account. We have heat by default. Now, you should know that elemental combinations are always 2 by 2, and the priority will always be from top left to bottom right, the combination priority. You can think of a weapon's default elemental damage as being the last, like if you had an additional slot at the very end, that would be the heat. So if you place anything on the weapon, you can further add to the heat with more heat. And let's take an example. Let's say I slap on Hellfire, yay, more heat. If I slap on something like Toxin, for example, then it will get combined with the heat. Infected Clip will give us Toxin, and now I have Gas, which is the combination between heat and Toxin. Now this is good versus Corpus faction. It can proc Gas, which will bypass their shields entirely and deal damage to their health. But if I go for an elemental combo outside of the heat, then I'm gonna be adding a little bit of electricity so I can make Corrosive, which is exceptionally good versus most Grineer. Now I got my Corrosive and the heat is all left alone. Now you can even make 2 elemental combinations if you so desire, but since we're fighting the the Grineer, then Corrosive is going to be the way to go. Now we said something about electricity and all whatnot. Let's start off with electricity because this includes a very expensive mod. First of all, what should you do? The 90 mods or the 60-60 mods? Now in the case of the Ignis Wraith, the 60-60 mods constantly perform better simply because we have that heat value there, and that will keep us safe from overstripping armor, unlike the Amprex. The Amprex has a bit of a problem. You can't overdo it with a single elemental combination because then you can run into overstrip. In the case, of course, of corrosive damage versus ferrite armor. If you completely remove a target's armor and their health bar goes red, then your 75% extra damage bonus from corrosive against ferrite also goes out the window. This is a problem with the Amprex. However, the Ignis Wraith has default heat damage. That heat damage will keep us safe because we will be proccing some heat, not just corrosive. So please keep that one in mind. So we're gonna go for the 60-60 mods. Of course, high voltage is a bit expensive. This one can be farmed from the mission Naelgar on the planet Eris. You gotta find all the secret caches, then upon extraction, 5% chance of getting this one, or Shell Shock, which is essentially the exact same mods but only for shotguns. Alright, I got my electricity. What about Toxin? This one is Malignant Force and it's a lot easier to obtain. This one drops from Corrupted War in the Void. 10, maximum 15 plat from the trade chat, opposed to high voltage, which currently on PC is going for about 50 plat, something along those lines. Now for the final mod slot, you guys have a couple of options. Let's talk about punch through because I know a lot of you guys love punch through. The Ignis by default, the full length of the beam will hit all the targets, so it does have default punch through on it. However, it does not go through walls. If you guys want to go through walls, then all you gotta do is add a bit of punch through with Metal Auger, or maybe even Shred. The fire rate will prove a huge DPS increase. And now if you slap on Shred or Prime Shred, you can shoot targets through walls, which is definitely a lot of fun, and I recommend you guys give it a go. Let's talk about another mod, Firestorm. I love this one. Improves the blast radius of specialized launcher weapons, plus 24% blast radius, and not a lot of weapons can equip this mod. Just keep in mind that plus 24% extra on the 3 meter spherical area of effect isn't really gonna do all that much, but definitely give Firestorm a try. Now here's another option. Why don't we further amplify our corrosive damage? More corrosive that gets amplified by 75% is never a bad idea. You can amplify that with either Stormbringer or Infected Clip. It doesn't really matter which of the two you're going to be slapping on because it simply will wash into the corrosive we already made. Good, now we got about 598 corrosive. This will be our initial build. I have a couple of variations, but for now, let's test it like this and see what kind of a punch we got on it. We're gonna be simulating level 120 Corrupted Heavy Gunner, which have more health and armor than regular units. And here's a note I'm tired of making, because the enemies are paused, they do not take a stealth multiplier from my ranged attacks. This has been an issue in the past, it's now fixed. However, if you were to go in melee and hit them with a melee weapon, then yes, a finisher multiplier would apply. Like this, the damage does not get modified. I'm sorry about that, guys, but I have to mention it because I still see comments along those lines and people need to understand that that issue has been fixed. Back to the Ignis. Monster, absolute bloody monster. Look at all this damage. I am tearing through these guys like there's no tomorrow. I'm applying plenty of statuses to them, plenty of corrosive, plenty of heat, and as you saw, I took them out in a matter of seconds. What was that? 60 ammo? 70 ammo? Absolutely bloody glorious, and I cannot believe this weapon has this much power with just basic and expensive mods. Of course, outside of high voltage. Now that is a option you can go for, and definitely this will be a worthwhile build. I got another idea though. What about some fire rate? The fire rate of the Ignis Wraith is only 8, and you got a huge magazine of 200 and a quick reload of 1.7. So unloading that huge magazine will definitely be a DPS increase. However, your ammo economy kinda takes a hit. I haven't run out of ammo on the Ignis Wraith, but if you do, carrier guaranteed to fix all your problem with the ammo case mod that it has. So let's talk about fire rate options. First of all, Shred and or Prime Shred. Now if you guys have the Prime version of this one, that will prove a huge DPS increase, plus the added benefit of shooting targets through walls. So if you have it, slap it on and forget about it. Here's a more down to earth solution. Speed Trigger, 60% fire rate, bringing up our total fire rate to 12.8. Now this is definitely a solid option, but my favorite remains Vile Acceleration. 90% fire rate at the cost of minus 15% damage. That's not a huge damage loss. Then again, if you can't stomach the idea of losing some damage, then Speed Trigger is going to be the way to go. Please keep in mind that Vile Acceleration, just like Heavy Caliber, is a corrupted mod, and you can farm this one from Vault runs. I'm not gonna leave the build like this because I'm doing less damage. Because I dropped a 90 mod and I just added fire rate. I am doing less damage, but I'm doing more shots. I have a chance, a risk of doing overstripping on my targets. And because of that, I'm gonna give up on high voltage and simply slot in Stormbringer. Dropped a little bit of status chance for a bit more damage. And this will be the second variation of the build. So let's see how well does it fare. Same targets as before, of course. Not as much damage, but a lot more fire rate. Now if you were to time this consistently, you will see that the kill time with the fire rate mod is a bit better. However, it does come at a bit of a risk. Like I said, I never ran out of ammo on the Ignis, but I'm assuming if you guys want to take it like an hour into defense, you might have some problems, so carrier with ammo case will fix that. The choice is up to you. Both builds work splendidly well, and a bit more, well, fire rate will help you get more kills if you care about the score screen. In any case, let's check out some Hunter Munitions potential, because I know there are some of you that are wondering, is Hunter Munitions viable for the Ignis Wraith? And long story short, well, yes, but it really doesn't work all that well. This is a Hunter Munitions build, so 30% chance to apply slash status to an enemy on critical hit, and here lies the problem. The base crit chance of the Ignis Wraith is only 17%. With point strike we get 42.5. Again, I need a crit in order to have a 30% chance for Hunter Munitions to activate to apply that slash status. When building a weapon for slash, it's a smart idea to build viral, because viral will reduce the maximum health of a target by 50% for the duration of the debuff. So in a way, your slashes will be dealing double damage. This is not a corrosive build, so you don't need the 60/60 mods. Further applications of viral won't benefit you like they would in the case of corrosive, further reducing the armor. So we're gonna be using the 90 mods, and I'm even gonna use prime cryo rounds for the sake of proving a point. Respawn the exact same targets. There's a time and a place for Hunter Munitions, and the only condition you're faced with is, do you have a high crit chance on your primary weapon? That is pretty much the only condition for a Hunter Munitions build. And when it comes to the Ignis Wraith, you simply do not have that condition. I emptied 40 ammo in these targets and they're not even close to dying. Well, most of them in any case. As you can see, I am getting constant viral applications on the target. I am getting some slashes, but not a lot. The value for the slashes are quite nice. And if this looks to you more impressive than the corrosive builds I showcased earlier, then by all means go for it. I, however, do not recommend it. That's gonna be that. Let's switch to my Riven setup. Now I bought this one for 150 plat, which was a steal, and I rolled it 29 times. Multishot, electricity and status chance. Now because I have that status chance there, it basically takes the form of a 60/60 mod, so I'm just gonna be using the 90 mod with the Vile Acceleration. So it's pretty simple what I did here. I simply dropped a 60/60 for this specific Riven. And of course, you guys can get a lot better Rivens than this. You can get crit chance, crit damage, multi-shot. Just keep in mind that multi-shot is not as good on beam weapons as damage is because of the flat value. So prioritize damage over multi-shot in the case of the Ignis Wraith. And of course, the weapon is a bit better now. Rivens make things better. Yes, they do, but they are quite expensive, especially if you're talking Ignis Wraith. It's a very popular weapon and it's an extremely strong weapon. Now that that's out of the way, why don't we have a little fun? I believe I earned it, so we're gonna be picking up Lady Mirage Prime. Mirage is a bit of a weapon specialist and I absolutely love this frame. And we're gonna make a couple of notes about her. We're gonna be using Rifle Amp, 27% extra damage. This is an aura. Everybody in your party is gonna get the benefit, and of course it is stackable. However, if you guys know you're going up against Grenier, Corrosive Projection will be a better idea, but Rifle Amp gives its benefit regardless of the target. Next, Arcanes, because these are a lot more important. Mandatory to the Ignis Wraith as far as I'm concerned, Arcane Acceleration. On critical hit, 20% chance for plus 60 fire rate rifles for 6 seconds and plus 1 Arcane Revive. Because of the 40 something crit chance, plenty of uptime from Arcane Acceleration. And the second one, no surprise to anybody here, Arcane Rage. On headshot, 10% chance for plus 100 and 20% damaged rifles for 16 seconds. Arcane Rage, currently on PC at least, is quite pricey. The R3 costs between 500 and 600 plat. It's farmable from the third Eidolon down on Cetus, but Arcane Acceleration is a lot more affordable, and it's farmable only from the second Eidolon down on Cetus. So definitely, if you don't have access to Arcanes yet, well, that kind of sucks, but you will, so for future reference, check the maximum amount of damage we can do with this thing. We're going to be activating Mirage's first ability for the clones and her third ability for a 514% damage increase. And as you will see, these guys will be doing a bit of a magic trick. It's a very basic magic trick. It's called now you see him, now you don't. What a powerhouse of a weapon at only MR9. This weapon only really has one solid competitor from my point of view, the Amprex, which is equally as awesome. Now, I know that some of you are wondering, well, which is better, one or the other? I can't tell you that. I honestly can't. If I was forced to choose between the two, I would probably go Ignis Wraith just because I like flamethrowers. But again, that is subjective. And that is gonna do it for this build guide. I'm gonna thank you guys so much for watching. Like, favorite, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. If you have any feedback for me or if I missed something because I'm human, by all means, leave it in the comment section down below. I do take all suggested builds into account, but I can't realistically promise you that it will be done by next time. However, I will be reading each and every comment. So until next time, guys, bye bye.